Harry's Wife, Part 101.72. You are not the People's Princess. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. We continue to look at further articles and broadcast pieces to help you understand more about Harry's wife's behaviours and what it all means within the context of narcissism. Now turn to a different publication, Jacobin. Jacobin is a magazine which is aimed at the American left, based in New York. It offers socialist perspectives on politics, economics and culture. As of 2021, the magazine reported a paid print circulation of 75,000 and over 3 million monthly visitors. The publication began as an online magazine released in September 2010, expanding into a print journal later that year. It was described by its founder as a radical publication being largely the product of a younger generation not quite as tied to the Cold War paradigms that sustained the old leftist intellectual milieu like dissent or new politics, but still eager to confront, rather than table, the questions that arose from the experience of the left in the 20th century. Let's find out, then, what this magazine has to say about Harry's wife. Is it going to be favourable, given that one would suspect that they might be, given that they're left-leaning? Well, only one way to find out, and we look at this article by Ryan Zickgraf, headed, Harry's Wife is not the People's Princess. For all the talk of social justice on her new podcast, Archetypes, Harry's wife seems only to vaguely endorse trickle-down celebrity feminism and to promote herself as a symbol of the enlightened liberal ruling class. On the eve of their posh wedding, some commentators suggested that Harry's wife and Harry were poised to give the royal family a much-needed makeover. Can Harry's wife modernise a monarchy? Asked The Economist, the same long-time magazine that helped Britain's elite modernise the United Kingdom's economy during the 70-year reign of Queen Elizabeth II. Never mind Charles III, Britain's true king is the market. On the surface, the answer was no. Harry and Harry's wife understandably chafed under the iron grip of the $28 billion empire known as the firm, and announced they were leaving the family business in early 2020. The months of Sturm und Drang that followed, culminating with the couple's high-profile Megxit, was probably inevitable. The monarchy is not capable of drastic change, and Harry's wife, like other millennials, isn't as enamoured with the musty institution as past generations have been. Plus, why play by the archaic rules of a fading institution when you can start a new reign of your own? Such a sentence, of course, sits entirely appropriately with a narcissist. As eulogies of the recently departed Elizabeth II have made clear, conservatives and many moderates are suddenly and inexplicably massive Queen junkies. Oh, Bohemian Rhapsody is a good song, isn't it? They've praised her for exuding elegance, modesty and stateliness, a symbol of rectitude, as one MSNBC analyst put it. Elizabeth II never had much power. She reigned as a silent mascot for a once powerful nation, the post-World War II generations that are fading into irrelevance or death. This queen was always more influencer than emperor. For many good reasons, young people in the West don't think much of the monarchy anymore. According to a YouGov poll, only 31% of 18 to 24-year-olds in Britain believe the monarchy as an institution should continue. A trend illuminated by a viral CNN clip of a young woman saying she wasn't a fan of the Queen on the day she died at 96 because of the British history of imperialism and other shadiness. But that doesn't mean that millennials don't have favourite royals. In Britain, Harry's wife is nearly 4 times more popular with millennials than with baby boomers. Harry's wife, it turns out, better reflects the value of those times, or more specifically, the values of the young cosmopolitan elite. Americans of a similar demographic like her too. After all, she's American herself. But more than that, she's liberal. Her perspective seems roughly aligned with the aims of the Democratic Party, and she articulates Megxit and her personal ambitions in the language of social justice. In America's bipartite media sphere, even perceptions of the British royal family are formed through Republican and Democrat lenses. We long liberated small d Democrats can't quit our former island overlords. Now we just pick our faves based on their theoretical alignment with the blue and red teams and root for them like their Premier League clubs. Harry's wife has developed a following among liberal millennials by divulging, in revelatory fashion, often on prime-time television, sense of entitlement, broadcasting, assertion of control, the detail of the firm's genuinely boorish and sometimes downright bigoted behaviour. As any millennium woman whose feminism was forged in the girl boss era would understand, she has taken a hardship and turned it into content. Monetization, residual benefit, noted the recent New York Magazine cover story on Harry's wife. That content isn't all bad. She's not trying to soften the crimes of a global empire, for starters. But it's also very hollow. I get that we all feel bad for Harry's wife because of how badly she's been treated, and people are right to call out the double standards. But the challenges she's facing are literally a million miles away from those of the vast majority of women, tweeted British socialist commentator Grace Blakely this week. #girlbossfeminism is not the one. Take Archetypes. Harry's wife's glossy new Spotify podcast. Pitched as a new approach to women's empowerment, it mostly just offers listeners a chance to luxuriate in the company of Harry's wife and her mega-successful celebrity friends. Archetypes is ostensibly about how negative stereotypes harm women, but it doesn't seem like a coincidence that the first two episodes are centred on stereotypes that Harry's wife herself endures, ambitious and diva. A point that guest Mariah Carey makes in the second episode. You give us diva moments sometimes, Harry's wife. Sexist stereotypes concerning women's ambition are real and limited. They're also more likely to apply to professional women with careers, not jobs, who are the show's target audience. Truthfully, the podcast could use more diva moments. As it is, it's mostly stultifyingly dull. Its defining line so far doesn't come from any of the navel-gazing celebrity conversations. It's a tagline from a regular commercial break that hawks Stacey Pitter chips, a Pepsi-owned snack brand that foregrounds its founder's personal rags to riches tale. Stacey Madison started selling her crunchy Pitter chips out of a food cart in Boston in the mid-90s and capped off a successful decade by cashing the business out to Pepsi for $243 million. Now she's a partner at a billion-dollar private equity firm. When one woman rises, we all rise, says the narrator in the Pitter chip ad. This philosophy of trickle-down feminism is the beating heart of Archetypes. For all the talk about changing society, Harry's wife is thin on policy ideas or a political vision of any kind. Instead, she promotes herself as an aspirational figure, a symbol for the era of the enlightened, liberal ruling class. But who is she really? 2 years after Megxit, Harry and Harry's wife still use the frou-frou titles of Duke and Duchess of Sussex. They purchased a $14.7 million mansion. They landed a $100 million 5-year Netflix deal plus a $25 million Spotify deal, which has resulted in 4 measly episodes in nearly 2 years. In other words, they use royal titles, reside in a California castle, hang out with the rich and famous, and live impossibly charmed lives which require them to barely work. Give Harry's wife some credit. Maybe she modernized the monarchy after all. That is an article which makes it clear that she is not the people's princess and is scathing over the fact that she's got herself in this position but merely aligns herself with the elite. So much for the supposed compassion that she exhibits. This, of course, comes as no surprise to those of you who understand my work and recognise that she's a narcissist, self-serving, seeking the prime aim subconsciously, trampling on people, playing the victim, getting to where she needs to be for the purposes of control, fuel, character traits, and residual benefits. But the fact is, it's somewhat refreshing when a left-leaning publication that might ordinarily hold her up as some kind of darling, some kind of misunderstood victim of racism and hatred and bigotry, sees largely through that. It seems to me that much of it's a lament about the fact that she had an opportunity and has failed to do so, and that it quite clearly identifies that she has nothing really to offer, describing her as dull, describing the fact that she has no real talent to offer, and in the circumstances. It laments the missed opportunities and the fact that it recognises it's really just about her. This is instrumental, whereby a left-leaning publication, one that is clearly of some seriousness in the way that approaches matters, this is not some kind of puff piece, far from it. Instead, it has a degree of weight about it, and whilst, of course, it turns phrase that supports her in instances, in many other aspects it does not. But this is demonstrative, that even those on the left see through what she is, and have no truck with her. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.